everybody, and welcome to ParaTalk 101 with James Bishop, the co-founder of the West Houston Paranormal Society, and he is also a managing member of Bad Wolf Events.
Good day, everybody.
Okay, so a little bit about ParaTalk. I wanted to be able to have like one-on-one conversations with different people in the paranormal field, and actually just like everyday people as well. And so we can just have a little discussion about stuff, whatever comes to mind. And actually, I wanted to start. This is our first episode, and it's going to kind of like explain how this specific story goes hand in hand with how WHPS started. Okay, so because a lot of people don't know it. So back in 2009, after my son graduated from high school, we took a trip to Oahu, and I had set a ghost tour, which I thought would be great for all of us to experience because we had never been on one before. And this one was actually highly recommended. It was one of like the #1 ghost tours on Oahu, and it's actually called Oahu Ghost Tours. And our tour guide was Uncle Joe. And so go ahead, take it away. Talk.
Okay. Well, after a nice long 8-hour flight from Houston straight to Hawaii, we got to the hotel. I mean, we landed, did the whole lay at the airport thing, grabbed our.
You have in your hand.
I'm waving the pen around on the screen. Way to go, James. This will be interesting. Anyway, well, we got our luggage. We got to the hotel, got settled in, and we had no time to waste because the way we take vacations is nonstop. Well, the ghost tour was on the agenda for the first night, so I think we went to Red Robin or something, went and had a hamburger, and then we hauled butt over to this intersection to meet the nephew of Uncle Joe. And I wish I could remember his name, but it's been 10 years and I forgot his name. But anyway, this nice young fellow, he was our tour guide, and picked us up and took us up to meet Uncle Joe. And we went to this specific place, and I don't know if we were the only van. I think we were the only van on the tour. Because it was like 15 people. Okay, yes, it was a big van. Yeah. Anyway, we met Uncle Joe, went to lots of really neat little haunted locations. Well, one specific location we went up the mountain and got out of the car, and we're walking around and stuff like that. And I believe you said you felt something holding your arm.
Right. I felt like something was grabbing my arm, and there was nothing next to me, so it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I was too busy. But anyway, we got back in the van. Actually, lady had taken pictures of the crowd. She was just taking random pictures. And when we got down to the bottom, she came over to you. We got to a rest stop where we take a snack and water break. There's a lot of walking on this tour. And we would get, lady comes up to us and asks you, hey, was anybody holding your arm? Or,
oh, no. She asked me if I had a tattoo on my arm.
That's
and at that time, I did not have any tattoos. And then she said, okay, because I caught this. And so she showed us the picture on her camera screen, and you could see like the lines, like the indentations of someone's hand on my arm in red.
And like somebody had laid their hand right across her arm. It was all red, and you could see fingers and a big palm.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned up top that she felt something grabbing her arm. So I was like, okay, goodness, weird. So Uncle Joe came over. Everybody else had gotten back in the van, the boys included. And I think our friend Bill was with us, and they were all in the van. And Uncle Joe came over to you because he is a Hawaiian priest. He speaks in Hawaiian. when he's doing his prayers and stuff like that. It's actually very, very cultural and very, very cool. And he pulled out what I now know very well as the K2 meter. I'd never seen one before.
Right.
I didn't even think I'd seen one on TV yet. I wasn't sure. Well, anyway, he's waving this thing around, and he's picking up EMF off your arm and off your person. I mean, he's waving this thing around, and he sees it on you. So he starts saying all these Hawaiian prayers and all this stuff. It was really, really cool. And starts beating the hell out of her with some banana leaves or some tea leaves. I don't know what it was. They're about this big. And
they hurt. And he was whacking me with them and saying something in Hawaiian and to rid of whatever spirit had attached itself to me.
Well, he pulled back. He does his prayer with his hands, and he does this with his hands, and then he does like this, like he's throwing the energy back to the mountains, and he sent the spirit or whatever had attached itself to her back up the hill. So it went away. So he put the K2 meter down there, and sure enough, it had stopped spiking because it was constant. And he was waving around. He was holding the leaves in one hand and holding the K2 in the other. And any time that thing would even flicker, he'd smack her with his leaves. And it was hilarious. I'm standing over there trying not to bite a hole in my lip because at the time, in 2009, I was a huge skeptic. I believe in spirits, but I was a huge skeptic. So I thought, oh, my God. And I'm trying not to laugh. And I can hear my sons in the truck. They're all in there busting up laughing. And I'm like, stop it, because I'm trying to be serious because I'm trying to enjoy the trip. And I'm having a ball. Well, anyway, we get back in the van and we head up to a very beautiful Chinese Oriental cemetery. I don't know if it's just Chinese.
I think it was a Japanese cemetery. That's what I thought.
I was going to say, because Chinese are not prevalent on Hawaii, but the Japanese folks are. But anyway, we went there, and there in the middle of this cemetery, there is a large, beautiful tree, which they dubbed as a portal for spirits. But it was 3 different trees that had actually grown together in kind of a spiral pattern, and it was huge. It was all grown up. I mean, it was enormous. And I'm going to let you take this part because this was your experience, not mine. But they asked for volunteers, and I told Hazel, I said, look, you come all this way, you might as well go for it. What do you got to lose? Give it a shot. Because she wasn't going to do it. So I was like, just try it. I said, what else did you come here for? Try it. So she did. And take it away.
So he asked for volunteers, and of course I raised my hand, and he looked at me and said, oh, of course you would volunteer after getting smacked with leaves on the other side. But anyway, he asked me to stand in the middle of this tree and to close my eyes and just, like feel the energy around me and stuff. And I did start to feel like a tingling sensation in my hand as well as over my shoulder. And other people were, obviously other people had cameras. We didn't, unfortunately. And they had taken a picture, and I felt what I believed was my father holding my hand and my grandmother behind me. And they were very special to me. I was very close to both of them. And so for me, it was just, I can't even, it was very emotional for me. I started crying. It was a beautiful moment.
Yep. And I'm going to add, because we forgot this when we were talking about it, the wind kicked up when you started feeling it. The wind came up. I mean, it was perfectly timed. It was a very interesting moment. Very, very cool. The wind picked up, and all of a sudden you start feeling stuff. And then Uncle Joe was asking you, what do you feel? Do you feel anybody with you? And you said, I feel somebody on my shoulder. Somebody's holding my hand. And he goes, do you know who it is? And she said, it's my father. And I think my grandmother is here too. And she was crying. And it was a very special moment. It was very cool. I didn't make fun of it. I took the moment serious. Even though I'm a goofball, and I was skeptical at the time. She actually had a moment there that was very, very special, and that lit a fire under her tush, which leads to part 2 of the story. But I'll let you finish what you were going to say.
So they took a picture, and in this picture, they just showed me there was an orb where my hand was, where I was feeling who I thought was my dad, and there was an orb behind me, a larger one behind. So unfortunately, I don't have that proof because that was just another tourist doing the same thing we were doing. But it was a very special moment, and that actually is what catapulted me when we came back home to want to form a team. Or before the team, actually, I wanted to just get together with other individuals who had experienced similar things. And so that we could talk about it, and that maybe they can explain to me what was going on with me, because I had never experienced anything like that. And so 2 years after we came back from Hawaii, I decided to, post something on Meetup and see if there was anybody in our area that was interested in getting together to just talk, just one night of talking and meeting each other, and see what came of it. Now, James was worried about all these weirdos coming into our home, but at the same time, I wanted this really, really bad because I wanted to know what it was that I had experienced. So we had a house full of people. I believe we thought it was around 20 to 22 people maybe that showed up the first time we got together. And from that, we actually felt like, there was a certain few that we felt we had known forever. And this happens a lot in the paranormal field. I did have a conversation with William Tabone from the Australian Paranormal Society not too long ago on Messenger, where he had mentioned something similar to me. And I told him the same. I felt the same way about certain people that I had met in the paranormal field, like we had known each other forever. So it was like this instant bond, and immediately we wanted to form WHPS. Right?
Yeah.
And along the way,
that was quite a thing for me, because like I said, I was very skeptical. I used to get agitated at Hazel when being public, and she's like, something's with this person. I feel something weird. My arm hurts, this, that, and the other. And at the time, he, hadn't put 2 and 2 together. It was like she was starting to develop her gift. But she does have a gift that we'll talk about in another episode, because that's a whole story in itself. We've got some stories to tell about that. But I gave in. I said, you know what? What the hell? Because like I said, I bonded with a lot of these people immediately as well. And I was like, let's take the plunge, because I would like to get to know more about this field and what it's all about. So I was like, let's do it. And I agreed with her. She deserves 85% of the credit. My 15% is me going, yeah, okay, and allowing all these nuts into my house. So it was, she was the driving force. Therefore, she is the founder, and I'm the co-founder by default, basically. I did help with a lot of planning and stuff like that, but the idea was primarily hers, and I went along with it. I thought it sounded good, and to this day, I am very, very grateful that we have formed this group, because we have had a lot of good adventures as a group. We've seen a lot of things. We've got a lot of evidence and a lot of fun, and I'm hoping we'll do a lot more.
And, to be honest, this is crazy, but when we first started talking about forming WHPS, I looked on the internet to find out how many teams there were, and there were like over 200 in Texas at the time. And because I remember I was trying to come up with a name, and I'm like, everything that I came up with, someone else had somewhere else. And I was like, you're kidding me. There are seriously this many people. And, at the time, I think Ghost Adventures had just come on to the TV. I know there was what was that other one that we used to watch?
The Taps.
Taps. Taps
Ghost
was
Hunters.
on,
Yeah, Ghost Hunters.
and the Kling brothers.
Yeah, the Ghost Lab. Yeah.
Yeah, so there were, I mean, there were besides those, there were tons of shows. And I remember we used to watch them, and I loved it. I loved it just because whether they found anything or not, I didn't care. I was just interested in what they were doing. And I was like, I want to do this. I
Yeah.
want to do this. I just had no idea how. But luckily, a lot of the members, or a lot of the people that became members had experience because they were on other teams at one point or another, or they had gone ghost hunting. They had used the equipment before and were able to, show us what, what this is for, what that's for, James actually created, what was that? The Radio Shack hack.
Yeah. I went and looked up the blueprints for Radio Shack and built my own ghost box from a Radio Shack radio. Had to go in there and cut some wires so the scanner would keep running and stuff. So yeah, we did all kinds of stuff at first, but and then I commenced to nicknaming everybody, and we just became a family and grew from there. And it's a great group of people. So
Right. But the reason why I wanted to share the story was because that's actually, I feel like I've been sensitive all my life because I do share sensitivity with my siblings, as well as my mother. And when you look on our website, I'm going to go ahead and plug that, WHPS-ghosts.com. There are photos of us, and there's a little bio. And under mine, I did mention how when I was 13, I saw my first apparition of my grandmother. And this is true. That was the first apparition I had ever seen. But it wasn't until this experience that I had in Hawaii that really pushed me to want to be a part of a team and to learn more about the paranormal and what happens to people when they die. And being raised Catholic, you're always told there's a heaven and a hell, and there's a purgatory where you go if you have to wait your turn to get into heaven. And so I just wanted answers. I wanted answers because all these things are, these are things that I don't know. I had questions about. I don't know about everybody else, but so anyway, we formed the team. We are 8 years strong this year in October. Yay!
yeah.
And each member of the team brings something special. We have our skeptic, we have our tech, we have our Wiccans. Everybody has something to bring to the table. And I love that we all have our own way of thinking. We don't have to be, think exactly the same to be able to get along and do these things, because I enjoy being able to give my ideas or what I feel something is, and then have someone else, tell me different. Kind of like you did at first, because you didn't believe me at first.
Not always. No, I always try to explain things away, and I still do that. I'm the team debunker. Me and Duck, a couple other people, we the ones that run around and try to disprove stuff, because I want to be proved wrong. I do not want to be able to disprove the evidence that we find, but I would not be doing my job as part of the team if I would just accepted everything as evidence. So I always see it as, it's a must. You have to be diligent when you do your research and you do your review. You have to try to eliminate all the causes, and I do that. And I'm dreaming of the days when I find stuff that I just absolutely cannot explain. I've only had a few things. We've had a few really solid EVPs and stuff like that we can't explain away. But I'm really, as much as we've done this, we're still looking for that super wow piece of evidence. I mean, we've had some great stuff. The ball was fantastic. The doors closing at Waverly was fantastic. I mean, there are things, but I'm still looking for that first actual on-screen captured ghost. I'm still waiting for that shadow person, which, may be there somewhere, because, when you're reviewing all that video, you can always miss something. But
right.
The search is what, the search goes on, I guess you could say. And hopefully we will get back to that here pretty soon and do our thing.
Let me also say that we are a part of, in the beginning, I did mention that you were a managing member of Bad Wolf Events. I am also a managing member, and we will be putting on our second symposium in 2020. And we are in the planning process right now. So I kind of wanted to do these little ParaTalks as a filler and kind of get to know some of the people that I've gotten to meet along the way. And hopefully everybody will enjoy these. I don't want to make them too long, so I'm actually going to cut this thing. Is there anything that you want to mention?
Nope. I just wanted to say I appreciate you letting me be your first guest. Good luck with this. I hope it works out for you, and I'll be glad to help with any of these in the future if you need it.
Okay, and I also wanted to say that if anybody has any questions for James that maybe you might want to ask him for a future episode, or if you want to ask any questions you want me to bring up, in another conversation, just let us know. Leave a comment, and we will get to that. Excuse me. You can find us on Facebook as well as the website, and Bad Wolf Events is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yep.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you for talking to me tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
All right.